be on.
All right, guys, we are recording. I'm not sure if we're live, but we're recording. Welcome to the John Lavinia Success Mastermind. Today is, what is today? Tuesday, May 24th, general session. I am your host today, Stuart Wilde. Glad to see you guys. I am a student of mindset and success and prosperity mindset and philosophy and spirituality. And I'm glad to be here with you guys today and host today's session. I've got some cool stuff to share with you guys. As usual, before I go into these sessions, I got a lot on my mind. I got a lot of things that I'd love to share with you guys. And of course, as the evening goes on, what I'm going to talk about just kind of evolves. And so I was going to start talking about leveraging our strengths and our skills to open up new opportunities, because I've had some interesting things happen in my life recently. But then somehow it evolved into perception and perspective and paradigm shifts. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me get a quick look at who is with us here, just so I can say hi to everybody. I see Janet, and I see our master and mentor, John Lavinia. Evelyn Smith, nice to see you. We've got Gail in an empty chair, but I'm sure she'll be here. And then we've got our friend Lindsay Dollar, and we've got Kat and her cat. And then we've got Linda Landry. Awesome. Some of my favorite people, and glad to see you guys. So excellent. So yeah, today, some of you might remember from a year or so ago that, I would post on our Facebook page things about right brain, left brain, brain teasers, and cool stuff like that. And recently I've been exploring how our brain works and Gestalt shifts and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, today we're going to have a little fun with some cool imagery and visuals. And then we're going to head right on into paradigm shifts and changing the way we view and perceive the world, and how we can use that as a tool to change our lives. So here we go, man. I'm gonna share my screen here. Let's see. Nice. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Give me a thumbers. Yeah. Okay, good. Excellent. Going full screen here. So today we're going to talk about the doors of perception, right brain and left brain thinking, and zeitgeist, gestalt, and paradigm shifts. And if you don't know what some of those words are, we'll talk about them as we go on. So today, really, this is just going to be cool visual stuff, and then we'll have a chat. So this is an object. Check this out, guys. This is an object called the Necker cube. Okay, this is called an ambiguous object. We're going to talk about ambiguous objects, impossible objects, and all kinds of other stuff. So the cool thing about the Necker cube, and you got to look at it in a couple of different ways. And so depending on how you're looking at this and what your brain is doing, you're going to see the face of this cube either down and to the left or up and to the right. And I'll give you guys a minute to kind of take a peek at it. And I want you to let me know, maybe in the chat, if you can see it both ways, or if you only see it one way, or, you can always just jump in. Let's just keep this free form. You can jump in and let me know which way you guys see it. Can you see it only one way, or can you see it several ways?
I see it both
ways.
Nice. So isn't that cool how, this cube, because the lines cross and because of the shading, your brain just does these shifts of attention and perspective. So this is the Necker cube. It's called an ambiguous object. You can see it from many different perspectives. This one's called a Blivet. You guys ever see the Blivet? So you look at the Blivet starting maybe out on the left end where you see the three prongs, and then you follow it towards the base, and then something funky happens, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like an Escher painting, right? This is more of an impossible object. This doesn't change with your perspective. This just kind of tweaks your brain because it doesn't make sense. You guys catch that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This one's called a Penrose Triangle. Very similar in the sense that it's an impossible object, right? It does not exist in nature. You try to follow the lines and it just confuses your brain. So we've been through ambiguous objects and impossible objects. Now let's check out Schroeder's stairs, okay? And so depending on how you look at this, the stairs are either going up from the ground up, let's say, or they're actually upside down hanging from the ceiling, kind of like an Escher painting. So if you look at the face of A, you will most likely see the stairs in what we would consider to be a regular way, right? Walking up. But if you stare at B, kind of in the upper right-hand corner, then you might see things shift. You might see your perspective shift where the stairs are literally upside down coming from the ceiling. Can you guys see that? Takes a moment. Look kind of above and to the right of the letter B.
Oh, my logical brain says no.
Well, this is an ambiguous object. This is an interesting one. And I can go back later at the end of all this, and if there's any you didn't get, I'll flash them on the screen again. So these are three black and white images here that some of which you may have seen. The concept of the Gestalt switch. The Gestalt essentially is a German word. It means form and a change in form or a shift in form. The image on the left is called Rubens' vase, and depending on whether you're right brain dominant or left brain dominant at the moment, you'll see either the black image of the vase, or if you shift your attention, then you might see two faces nose to nose. This is a pretty classic image, right? You guys can see that one?
Yeah.
The middle image, I'll let you kind of call out what you see. And typically what you see first is going to indicate what part of your brain happens to be dominant in that moment.
Yeah, tree and then animals.
You see the tree and then the animals. It looks to me like a gorilla and a lion, right?
Yeah.
And I see the white images first. I see the animals first. Some people might see the tree first. And then on the far, let me see if I can roll over here. There we go. On the far right, call out what you see first.
I really like that one on the right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, especially when I finally got the chicken head or whatever that thing is.
Nice.
I
see
saw the man with the horn or whatever first, and then the woman.
Interesting. Yeah, I see big nose. I see big nose first, and then I see the silhouette of the woman, right? The eyes and the
Hold on a
lips.
second. So I see the woman, right? There's her eye, and she's heavily shadowed. But then I focus just on the black portion, and it looks like from the bottom up, there's the long neck of a chicken with a bill, and like it's got a little crest on it on the top, and like it's like a cartoon chicken, like screaming or something.
I love it. You're up chicken mind right now.
Yeah, it is.
Everything looks like a chicken.
Chicken facing right.
Yeah,
It's like a cartoon chicken.
totally. And then maybe if you expand a little bit, then you see the big nose guy. It looks like he's blowing on a horn.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
but I'm cool with the chicken. I might call, I'd see it. Looks to me, it looks like maybe like a hawk, to
Chicken hawk.
me, but I have chickens too. So yeah, everything looks like a chicken, man. All right. Let's go. So again, the Gestalt switch is this cool thing because it's this uncanny ability that our brain has to shift perspective dramatically, right? And that's why this is where I'm leaning, right? In terms of our brains have the ability to make these dramatic and fundamental shifts, not only in the way we see objects, but in the way that we see the world, in the way that we perceive the world. Hey, Kat, what do you think of these guys? Did you see the ones before?
I didn't see the very first one, and I'm still not seeing John's chicken there.
No,
All
I
right.
see the man with the horn. I don't see the chicken.
I love it. For some reason, my mouse isn't visible, so I can't show you. But do you see the face of the woman?
Yeah.
So above the lips, where the shadow of her nose is, I want to say, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the beak of your chicken.
Yeah, the chicken's beak is the underside of her nose as well as her mouth. So that's the open beak of the chicken. And then
Oh,
like this little bill hanging down, and then it's got this crest on its head, and it's got this weird eye, this white eye.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of bizarre.
Oh, I see it now.
All right. So here's one that I posted on the John Lavinia Facebook page a couple of years ago. So what do you see first when you look at this?
Monkey hanging from a tree.
yeah,
Monkey.
me too.
Monkey hanging from a tree. What else do you see?
Yeah.
It's
No
like a
way.
line
I
road.
saw a big cat first.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I saw the cat first, but then yeah, monkey hanging from a tree, and then it looks like there's this kind of ghostly creature on the right, but it's not. Pay no attention to the Picasso Dali surreal face on the right of that image there. But I made some notes, and so if you see the monkey first, typically if you see the black objects first, then that indicates that you are right brain dominant in the moment, right? Because I think a lot of people get confused with this. Oh, I'm a right brain person, I'm a left brain person. But the reality is that we're both, right? And when we create this harmony and this synergy, and we exercise our brain muscles and things like that, that theoretically you should be able to shift back and forth. You should be able to, go left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. And sometimes what's interesting, so again, monkey is right brain, which means creative, right? The right brain is the creative side. The left brain is the analytic side. And what's interesting, sometimes when I look at these things, and I would consider myself a pretty left brain person, and yet more often than not, I see things from the creative angle. And then I'll do things like, I'll think about, if I'm seeing something from the right brain, then I'll think about like art and sunsets and nature, and immediately my brain shifts. And then if I'm seeing something from the creative side, then I'll think about like numbers or mathematics or equations or something like that. And then my brain shifts. And later on, the last image that we're going to look at is really one that you can play around with and get yourself to go left brain, right brain. We'll see if anybody, if you guys have some fun with that. So there you go. That's the tiger and the monkey. This one is interesting too. This one, and I'll let you kind of call out what you see, and then we'll talk about how to see the other one. So what's the first thing you guys see with this one?
The old woman.
You see the older woman. You see
The woman with the
her.
hat. The girl with the hat and feathers.
Do you see the old woman or the young woman?
The old
I see
one.
the young one first.
Interesting. So the young woman, her is essentially like her nose is teeny tiny and off to the left of what you might call the big nose of the older woman, right?
Just looking away.
And right, and so the older woman is looking down with sad eyes, and she's got a big nose, and then her mouth is at the bottom with a long chin. The younger woman is looking off, let's say, to the right or to the left on the image, right? But to her right, and then you can see kind of a tiny little nose and an eyelash up on top. Can you guys see both of those?
No.
The older woman.
Yes,
I
This
can't
one
see the young woman.
took me a while too.
I don't see the older woman.
And what's interesting is that the studies have shown that the younger or older we are, that we tend to see what correlates closer to our age, which is very interesting.
You
And I'll
know,
go back.
it's interesting because I first saw this image when I was around 20 years old. I was in a workshop talking about paradigms, and all I could see was the older woman, and I had the people had to draw out the younger woman for me.
Totally.
So now I could see both, pretty instantaneously.
John,
and,
that's pretty interesting, John, because I like you immediately saw the older woman. Even when I was younger, I remember seeing this years ago, and it took a while. I had to like look up the cheat sheet, like where the hell's the younger woman? So then here's the next one. This one is probably the hardest one, and maybe you guys can help me out because I only see it one way and I haven't been able to shift my perspective. So same kind of deal, young man, old man kind of thing.
See an old man in a hat.
Yeah,
I don't
me
see the
too.
young man.
Me too.
nope, there's a cowboy looking off to the horizon there, to his left.
Oh, Evelyn.
I could see them both really fast, but it seems like once you learn how to do these, then just for me personally, I can see them faster, even new ones.
All right,
I've
I'm
seen the
trying-
young woman, old woman before, but I couldn't switch to the young woman today,
Mm,
and I cannot get past the guy with the hat.
I can't either.
Well, Cowboy is he's wearing a hat too. It's very similar to the lady that looks like the cabaret dancer in the previous image. He's got a kerchief around his neck. He's wearing a cowboy hat. He's looking off to his left.
I did
And-
not see a cabaret dancer at all. This one there's an Indian kind of guy in the dark on the bottom right.
Okay, but okay,
Profile.
so the Indian's nose, or that old man's nose, is the chin and jawbone of the cowboy that's looking off to his left.
And I read that, Evelyn, that the nose is the chin, and I still can't see it.
Oh, I see it. Okay,
It's
I
the same trick as the woman illusion.
Yeah.
It's just
Very
It's
similar.
away. That's it.
the eye is his ear.
Correct. And
And he's
hair.
looking away. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a nose. He's got a
Yeah.
whole lot of no cattle.
All right, I'm going to come back to this one. This is the one that stumped me out of all these. I'm like, this is the one. Okay, next. This one's pretty cool too, you guys. So this one's called the Sawtooth Illusion. And depending on how you're looking at this, you either see the stairs pointing up,
Oh yeah.
with the black face to the left and the white face to the right, with the point facing up. And if you look at it kind of from the top, in theory, that's kind of what you might see. But then if you look at it maybe from the bottom half, then you see the stairs are pointing down and at you. And as I'm saying this, it keeps shifting back and forth, and I'm trying to describe it. And so the stairs, or the point, there it is, would be facing at you, with the white on the left and the black on the right, with the triangles pointing towards you. Now they shifted again. Is this happening to you guys, that as you're looking at it, it's like shifting back and forth? I'll leave this for a moment as well, because I think this is a cool one.
Yeah, I think if I just on the dark gray strip just below the sawtooth, then it's pointing up. And if I focus on the light gray strip above the sawtooth, then it's pointing down.
Way to describe that, John. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, if you stare at the gray above the jagged edge, it tends to point at you. And if you stare at the, no, it's the other way around. No, yeah, the gray and it's pointing at you. And then if you stare at the darker, like charcoal, then it pops straight up. But it just keeps going back and forth to me. So I'm like right brain, left brain, right brain, left brain. Evelyn, can you see that?
It took me a few extra seconds to see this one. But I do.
I can go back at the end as well. And if anybody wants to see any of these again.
Dude, that one moves.
This one's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
All
What does
right.
it all mean?
What?
What does it all mean?
I don't know.
All right. So this one's cool. Has anybody seen this one?
No.
So this is called the chess piece illusion. So kind of check these out. And you can see the pieces up top are, there's a smoky background and the pieces are white, right? With a gray smoky background. And then the pieces below have a white smoky background and the pieces are black. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty easy to see. Okay, ready? That's what they really look like without any background.
Can you put it back? So
They're both the same is what is the illusion. They're both identical. And yet if it's on a black background, they appear white. And if it's on a white background, they appear black.
wow.
And there's a lot of illusions like that. And there's a lot of other ones that, I could have put in here, the ones that like with like sections or sticks or lines that, one looks bigger than the other, but they're all the same. I'm sure you've seen all that kind of stuff. I tried to choose ones that were pretty unique and original. This is pretty interesting. This is another stumper for me. So take a look at this dress. And I want to hear from each of you what color combo you see this dress as.
Gold and white.
Yeah, gold and white.
Yes.
Yes.
Building what?
Does anybody see black and blue?
Oh,
Black and blue?
No.
Mm-mm.
I had
I
seen this before, but right now all I can see is gold.
interesting.
Gold and white.
I see gold and white. I have yet to see the blue with the black. My son sees a blue dress with black stripes.
No way. Is there a
And
second slide to this?
no,
That's it?
it's really just what your brain sees. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's amazing. Yeah, there's no way that that's black and blue. And yet some people see it. I think if you were to Google like the dress illusion, some people have like colorized it so that you can see one and you can see the other next to each other. And maybe I should have put it up there, but I couldn't tell the difference anyway, right? It's all gold and white. But anyway, that's pretty cool. So nobody sees blue and black. So maybe somebody who's seeing this on YouTube at a later date, if you guys see this and it's blue with black stripes, put it in the comments of the YouTube. All right, here comes another cool one.
Well, Mandy just posted something. If you Google Ellen and the dress, it shows it.
Ellen DeGeneres does a video with a couple of these. One of them's the dress, and she asks the whole audience. Then half the audience see the black and the blue, and half of them see the gold and the white. I
Interesting.
think he does go in to explain it, but I can't remember it. But yeah, this one and another one is worth watching.
All
Well, I
right.
don't know. I mean, if I
It's
took a
beautiful.
digital color meter and like sampled the actual pixels,
Mm.
it would come out gold and white. I mean, period. End of story. That's what it is.
Absolutely. And yet, you know, it's crazy. But yeah, after you're done, after we're done today, this one haunts me because again, like I don't see it any other way. And do you guys remember a couple of years ago, there was a whole thing that was going around on the internet with Yanny and Laurel? Do you guys remember that one?
No.
She does
And
that
so
too.
it's
I'll be quiet.
it's somebody that's that is a recording, and they're saying Laurel, and depending on the pitch, and as the pitch shifts, if you hear Laurel, then all of a sudden you hear Yanny, and it's the same word and it's the same recording. Maybe after we close out of this, I'll pull it up and I'll play that. Or maybe John, if you can Google that, Yanny Laurel or Laurel Yanny, and we'll play it before we're done, because
That
that's
one's in the same video, Stuart. That one's in the same video with the dress that Ellen does.
oh, interesting.
I could only hear one of them. I can't remember. I think I only could hear Laurel. But other people.
Interesting. Well, and they say that again, that's another one that has to do with the age of your auditory canal, but it has to do with the pitch, and so depending, and it's crazy because it goes Laurel, 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 Yanny, like you're what? It's pretty fascinating. All right, here's my favorite one. Ready?
Oh yeah, I've seen this before.
Have you guys seen this?
Yes.
So this appears to be a 3D picture that's spinning, right? But it's actually a two-dimensional image that's essentially going back and forth. But depending on whether you're right brain or left brain in the moment, you're going to see it spinning
Change.
clockwise or counterclockwise.
Mhm.
And again, if you see it spinning one way, think about pretty sunsets or art or mathematic equations and watch it change. Does anybody see it going in more than one direction, or do you guys
Yeah.
see them?
One direction.
No,
Which-
two directions.
Yeah, I just got switch.
If you look at it long enough, it'll change to the next direction.
Again, it's about which hemisphere of your brain you're using more dominantly in that particular moment.
It's really cool. I'm getting her to dance. Like she just keeps facing the front again and again. She does 2 moves and then 2 moves back and forth, back and forth.
Totally. That's awesome. Yeah, this is honestly, this is a great exercise, because this is one that when you shift your attention or you shift your focus, you should be able to get her to go one way and then the other way. And this, to me, this is a great kind of left brain, right brain training exercise. Has everybody been able to get her to spin in both directions?
No.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And so the spin here is counterclockwise is left brain dominant in the moment, and clockwise is right brain dominant. So if she is only spinning clockwise for you, then that's the creative part of your brain. So start thinking about like 2 + 2 is 4, or E = MC squared or whatever, and then it should shift for you. If you only see her spinning counterclockwise, which is your analytic brain, then start thinking like color palettes or sunsets or oceans. Or isn't that crazy?
All right, you know what? I've never seen that before, but I literally just thought mathematical equations, and she went one way, and I thought rainbows, unicorns, and she went the other way.
Isn't that amazing?
Unbelievable.
That is so cool, huh?
What's it all mean? I don't know.
Very cool.
Something.
Well, it does. I mean, what it means is, and this is kind of what I'm getting at, is that we have an amazing ability to see the world in different ways, right? And if we're stuck in a certain worldview, that we have this amazing ability to shift our focus, shift our perspective, change the way that we see the world, change the way that we perceive ourselves, change the way that we perceive others, right? And so this is magic, man. This is like unbelievable stuff. So yeah, just this image in and of itself was like paradigm shifting for me, right? So I got a couple of quotes, and then I want to, I'll flip out of here and then we'll chat. Oh my God, wait, one more time. Rainbows and unicorns, sunsets and ocean waves, and square roots and Newtonian physics. Boom, there it goes. Unbelievable. I love it.
You know, Stuart, I'm not getting it with, it's not correlating to those thoughts for me, but if I blink my eyes a couple of times, then it switches.
Are you counting how many times you blink your eyes?
Maybe once. Maybe twice.
All right, so here's a cool quote from this guy that I know, perspective, easy to lose it, right? Here's another cool one. It all begins and ends in your mind. What you give power to has power over you. This guy by a guy named Leon Brown. Anybody know who he is? Because I don't. John, do you know who Leon Brown is?
I don't.
I bet you know who this guy is.
I know who that is.
Change your paradigm, change your life. Bob Proctor. So that's a props to Proctor, because after we finish up The Traveler's Gift in our current book study, then we're going to read You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor. So props to.
Would you go back to
Proctor.
the last quote, Stuart?
Yes. It all begins and ends in your mind, right? What you give power to has power over you.
He was the author of All Are Welcome.
And of course, I should have looked that up before I put that on here, but I just like the quote so much.
I know Leroy Brown. I thought you were.
Oh, he's bad, huh?
Yeah, he's bad.
He's bad. I think he's from the south side of Chicago. All right. And then Wayne Dyer, disciple and student of Neville Goddard. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? And I think this is really pertinent to what we're talking about here. And this is a great quote by William Blake, who our friend James Allen is very fond of. It seems like every James Allen book that we read, or every chapter in every James Allen book, he was quoting William Blake, right, John? The doors of perception were cleansed. Everything would appear as it is, infinite. Now, a couple cool things. The Doors of Perception was also a book by Aldous Huxley, based on this quote right here by William Blake. And this is also, for those of you who are big Jim Morrison fans, this is where the Doors got their name, from this quote right here. And Aldous Huxley, one of my favorite dystopian authors, let's say, Brave New World, right, was sort of the technocratic version of 1984. And if you get to read Brave New World, he wrote it after his visit to Taos, New Mexico, where he visited and stayed with D.H. Lawrence, whose ranch is just a few miles from where I live. And in Brave New World, there's a whole chapter with place names from New Mexico. He talks about Taos and Picoris and all this cool stuff. And that was written in like 1927. Pretty cool stuff. And then this is a cool quote from Romans, and I'm not always dropping Bible quotes, but I really like this one. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Mhm.
There we go. All right, I'm going to stop my sharing here. All right, you guys. So I had a couple more things I wanted to share with you about all this. I mentioned the word zeitgeist earlier, and we talked about Gestalt being shape or form. Zeitgeist is a German word that translates Zeit is time, Geist is like ghost or spirit, right? And so Zeitgeist means the spirit of the time, or the spirit of the age, right? And so we can have zeitgeist shifts, paradigm shifts. So a Gestalt shift is something that happens on an individual basis. Like when you look at that image and it changes back and forth, that's kind of your brain's ability to shift perspective, either minimally or dramatically. When you have, let's say, a Gestalt shift that happens on a societal level or a national level or a global level, that's when you have a paradigm shift, right? That's where you have a total shift in consciousness. This is kind of the 100th monkey theory. Have you guys heard of the 100th monkey theory?
No.
Yeah.
John?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a theory concerning tipping points. So the idea is that let's say you have monkeys that get coconuts or something, and they eat the coconuts or the bananas or whatever the fruit is, and then a monkey takes it down to the waterfront and washes it off before he eats it. Other monkeys don't really take note. One other does, and then next thing you know, 2 monkeys are down there washing their fruit before they eat it. But the idea is that once 100 monkeys are washing their fruits before they eat them, then that's the tipping point. That's the new norm, and now all the monkeys do it. Of course, we wash our fruit. So something like that, I may have screwed it up a little bit, but that's the theory how it was given to me.
Yeah, I think it's bananas, but it has to do with like how they open the bananas, but same kind of deal. And once you have tipping point, once you have a certain number of monkeys or humans or whatever that think in a certain way or act in a certain way or do something in a certain way, then across continents globally, right? Then every monkey on the planet does that thing in the same way, right? And so it's this fascinating thing that actually happened or happens. So I don't even know if it's a theory, right? It's more of like a phenomenon, right? A thing that actually happens is that once enough people, so it's almost like consensus reality, right? Where once enough people think a certain way or act in a certain way, then that behavior or that habit or that attitude or that worldview or that paradigm then becomes a global consciousness shift or a global phenomenon. Pretty cool. And so a paradigm is essentially a pattern or a way of doing something or a way of thinking, right? And so I wanted to talk just for a moment about like paradigm shifts in history and in science, right? And so, and I want you guys to think about this and kind of what comes to your mind when we start talking about paradigm shifts. And then we'll start talking, then I want to kind of flip it to you guys and we'll talk about like, what kind of paradigm shifts have you had in your life or what kind of notable paradigm shifts, can we think about in history? But the ones that come to my mind are like when we went from hunter-gatherer people to agricultural people domesticating plants and animals. And all of a sudden, we could stay in one place, we could grow our own food, and that became like a global paradigm shift. We went from, let's say, a geocentric worldview where we thought that the Earth was the center of the universe, right? And that was kind of the Ptolemaic model of the universe. And then we shifted to the Copernican model of the universe where the sun is in the middle of our solar system and everything revolves around that. Then we get people like Galileo, right? Who of course was persecuted for saying that the Earth was round. We get Newton and Newtonian physics and gravity and things like that. And that kind of blew everybody's mind, right? And then that was kind of the thing for a few hundred years. And then all of a sudden we get Einstein. and then we get this whole Einsteinian theory of relativity, right? And that was kind of the thing for a while. Then all of a sudden we get quantum mechanics, right? And it almost rewrites everything. We get, multi-world theory and the multiverse and all these kinds of things that just blow our minds in terms of, multi-location of particles, faster than the speed of light travel and things like that. I think about like Fulton and the steam engine and the beginning of the Industrial Revolution that kind of changed the way everybody thought about things. I think about Edison and Tesla and light bulbs and electricity. I think about Henry Ford and the automobiles and the Wright brothers and flight, the moon landing or the moon hoax, depending on what you think, right? And then I start thinking about like politics and history and governments and divine right versus common law, right? And paving the way for, giving way to democracy out of monarchy and things like that. And of course, we could talk about democracy versus republicanism and things like that, but essentially self-rule or autonomous rule versus, rule by kings and queens. Then I think about like Vietnam and how that shifted our perspective that the media doesn't always tell us the truth and that our governments don't always tell us the truth, right? And that to me, and again, is a little before my time, but learning about that and, shifted my perspective on, things aren't always quite what they seem. Then I go from there to like 9/11 and how that kind of shifted our worldview and our paradigm. And then maybe the banking or the mortgage crisis, 2008, 2009. Then of course, these last couple of years, we got pandemic and COVID. I'm waiting for like the UFOs and disclosure, right? Because, I think that's going to create a whole, paradigm shift. But in terms of business, and this, of course, is a business success mastermind, what kind of paradigm shifts have we had in the business world, right? We've got like the internet and computers, e-commerce for those of you that, are engaged in e-commerce, and even sort of expectations about customer service, right? You think about like Amazon and how everybody now expects that when they order something that it's going to be on their doorstep the next day or whatever, right? That's like a huge paradigm shift in consumerism. And so, yeah, I just want to flip it to you guys. Like what, have you experienced paradigm shifts in your life? Have you gone through, dramatic transformations in how you view the world? Has that impacted or affected how you go about, your business world or just your life in general? Anyway, man, I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. And thanks for being with me today and listening to that. What do you think, guys?
Well, I'll jump right in there. Thanks, Stuart. So thank you for the demonstrations, because all of those some were new to me, some I had seen before, but my ability to see things from multiple perspectives is something that I like to think that I make an effort to do. But I also know that, I could go mad spending my whole day just, reassessing every appearance. So I think we got to find a balance there with, all right, this is good and right, let it be as is. But what you're saying is maybe that's not a safe assumption. Let's say, for example, like what we're doing with, all right, so this predates e-commerce, central banking. All right, so that's a paradigm, that's a zeitgeist, that's a, here's Federal Reserve notes, here's what is being called money by the decree of the, fiat, right? And so that's just money. I don't have a second thought about it. That's what we're going to exchange, right? Well, what happened before that? What happened before the Federal Reserve? I mean, that's only 100 years old, right? So it's easy for people to just, whether it's right or wrong, to just agree, just like the monkeys with the bananas or whatever. So I think it's incumbent upon us to at least look. Now, there's certain things which, I personally, I can't do anything about the central bank, whether I agree with it or not. I vehemently disagree with it, but in fact, Tom Edison said it was, more detrimental to liberty than standing armies. But the fact is that we bought that deal before I showed up here. We bought that deal. And now we're living in it. So that's a game that I didn't ask to be in, and yet we're in it. So what's to be done, right? I guess the question in my mind is, what's the point? Do we, all just throw our hands in the air and do, crypto and barter? Just, sticking on the whole money paradigm, for example, right? Just all start, dealing in silver and gold. I mean, yeah, I'd say buy some silver. It's on sale right now, by the way, guys. Silver and gold is cheap for some reason. But what other assumptions may not be serving us? And so that's what's coming up for me, Stuart, is like, if there's some, some perspective that I just went into agreement with because I've been unconscious or I was born into it or whatever. And then what can I do about it? That's always what I'm looking for. What can I do about it? So not sure. You definitely gave me some questions. I don't know if I got answers, but I got questions.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you, John. Thanks for your perspective on that for sure. And thanks for bringing up, yeah, because money is, let's say, an agreement, right? A societal agreement. In the old days, it used to be shells and rocks, or whatever it was, wampum and whatever we agreed on that has value.
Salt.
Right? Salt, absolutely. Well, that's where the word salary comes from, right? Was that the Roman centurions were paid in salt, and that's where we get salary from. So yeah, it's whatever is important, maybe it could be coffee, could be sugar, whatever, Snickers, whatever, whatever, you value. I mean, what comes up for me with that, because you bring up a good question, is like, well, not only like, what can we do about it, but like, is it a waste of our time to shift our perspective, on a regular basis? And so, yes, I agree with you. I think that there is a balance that we need to find. And at the same time, I think it's a good exercise to just not accept things at face value, and to not be too locked into one way of looking at the world, right? And when it comes to like things like the Federal Reserve, right, and the global monetary systems, right, I think we're really on the precipice of a redo of some of that. I think we're heading towards a big paradigm shift in some of that. And my concern is that the people that are, let's say, bringing that down are the same people that are going to be the ones to rewrite the new system versus a truly organic, beneficial system. I think we're headed towards like a global currency and all that versus more local currencies. Anyway, super cool. Thank you. Anybody else, please speak up.
No, but I like the global currency thing. I mean, I remember when it was said, oh, there'll be a time when you have just one phone number and it'll be with you for life. And I thought, really? How could that happen? And well, we have cell phones. It doesn't matter what your area code is. You can transfer it from one company to another. That was something we didn't know. And we still say, sometimes we still say, that we dial this number, but we don't dial anymore. We haven't dialed for years. Exactly. And so, all of these things we filter into a new way of thinking, a new something. And I remember the first time that I considered ordering something online, and the whole fear was, it going to, would I lose my money? Would it come back? Would I get the thing? Because there were stories about people who didn't get their merchandise.
I'm never putting my credit card on the internet.
Well, I've had mine hacked recently, but it's like, now it's like, yeah, order that thing, pay for that thing, do that, whatever. And money, physical money, do you have many coins that you use? Do you have many bills that you're using? It's all plastic. I mean, I'm not in crypto, I'm not going there, but it's mostly all plastic. Now you can just tap it. You don't have to slide it. It's just a whole, a whole other thing. But we filter into the new ways. But honestly, online was just really scary.
That's right. That's great. Thank you, Janet. That's some great insight and perspective there. And yeah, I think, the concept of global governance, global currency, right? On maybe one level, it sounds great. And then, I'm sure that John would wax prophetic about the dangers and the ills of such things. And again, I think it has to do with whether it's an organic thing from the bottom up or whether it's this, top down, different version of the same, let's say. John, I had a quote for you, a Jefferson quote. If we let the central banks into this country, and it's a paraphrase, and you can look it up, maybe you'll look it up before we're done, then we will wake up as slaves in the lands that our forefathers have conquered, right? That's a fantastic Jefferson quote. Yeah, anybody else? What do you got? Bring it. Mandy, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I was just going to me. Sorry, I was going with the cat then. I can't think of a paradigm shift I've had, but I'm sure I have because it's come up lots of times before. But I can't think of a particular one that I've had in my life. But it's all been really, everything I've been saying has been really interesting, and I love it. But I don't think I can add much to it at the moment.
I mean, the most recent thing that comes to my mind is just the whole COVID experience and how we all wound up chatting with each other across the ocean on Zoom, right? Not only COVID, but those of us that I want to say, like everybody here, and maybe many of you watching on YouTube, had to make dramatic changes to our lives and the way that we did things. And I mean, for me, it was e-commerce. It was, honestly, just joining on to these success masterminds and the daily success calls with John, right? And I mean, as much as a lot of these concepts were things that I studied over the years and tried to incorporate in my life, right? I think once I started having regular conversations with you guys, and especially with you, John, my mind just was blown to the point where it became something that was more an integral part of my daily life than something to sort of wax prophetic about. And I don't know if you guys, are feeling the same thing, but incorporating those concepts into my moment to moment way that I walk through the world versus something that's cool to kind of talk about or what I'm saying? It became more crystallized in my life. So I want to say that was a big paradigm shift for me.
Definitely, Stuart. I think that was one. It was the law of attraction and all of that and all the books we were reading relating to money and everything, because Ali and I have had we're doing Bob Proctor at the moment. We've had lots of conversations about that. And we said, how do we explain this to somebody if we were trying to talk to them? I was trying to explain it to somebody at the weekend. And it's just really difficult to explain. Just send them The Secret and then start from there, start from where we started. But that was a big, and more we read them, the more that was a real paradigm shift, and a good one. That's been excellent to realize that we can control things and by our thoughts and our thoughts, feelings, actions, all of these things that we learn. And everything is just important.
Once you realize that that's not, new age hoo-ha or woo-woo or whatever, you want to call it, once you realize that thoughts really are things and that you can change your reality and you have an impact not only on your life, but on the world around you, right? That's a major paradigm shift. Even if you gave it lip service before, once you start practicing and employing those concepts in your life, that's, and I think we're all, examples of that. Absolutely. Well said, Mandy. And if I haven't said it before, kudos for hosting book study on the other side of the ocean there. And
fun.
Congrats.
Yeah, we're taking up that book. So you've inspired me, Mandy, to dig into Proctor's book. I haven't read it in probably 15 years.
It's been brilliant.
One. And check out The Traveler's Gift, Andy Andrews. I reached out to Andy yesterday. We'll see if we can get him on next week. But anyway, something that Mandy just said reminded me of a worthy conscious paradigm shift that if we can get more people doing, starting of course with myself, then transformation is upon us in the world. And I think well, let me give you an example. I was talking to this guy about, this problem, this person in this situation, and then he said, don't give it any energy, which is so weird for me. It's like, well, I'm getting dramatic over here. I'm dramatic Italian John over here, right? You're saying don't give it any energy. So his paradigm was, don't give it any energy. In other words, be responsible for your own thinking and your own emotional state. And that was not my paradigm. That was not normal for me, to be conscious and responsible for my own thinking, right? Now, what if enough of us did that? How many monkeys do we need to do that, right? Obviously, with 7.5 billion people on the planet, I'm sure that, there's more than 100 of us who are, to the best of our ability, remaining conscious and responsible for our thoughts and our emotional state. But wouldn't that be something if victimhood became so weird and out of fashion that like nobody did that? Like we're all just like so able and we know that we are, and we're just not, going to succumb to circumstances. Like that would be freaking amazing. That would be amazing. And I guess in essence, that's part of what we're doing here. Mandy and Stuart both were talking about taking these things which on the surface may seem, lofty or esoteric or whatever, and putting them into use. Putting them into use in common hours. That's the end result that we're looking for, not to, sit here and sound like we're learned or something. I mean, and you may be learned. I don't know. I still got a lot to learn, but to actually have your life work and to be an example, a demonstration to others. Yeah. Add me to the monkey list, right? I think everyone who's attempting to apply these principles, whether it's what we're reading in books or we discuss in these sessions, that is part of the solution, not just for yourself, but another monkey doing the thing, right? So I'll tell you what, if anybody knows a better way to help the zeitgeist morph into that, let me know, because I'm all for it. Because I got to live here, man. I got this planet. Stuart, you're talking about UFOs. I'm excited. Come on down, guys. Come on down.
I think we'd probably agree that they're already here, right? It's just more about what they call disclosure.
Yeah.
John, you brought up an interesting point about the don't give it any energy, right? And from what I know about you, you're a man of action, right? And so when you see something, whether it's something that you are feeling positive or negative about, I think your reaction, I'm the same way. Like you want to do something about it, right? And sometimes what we're doing about it isn't healthy for us in terms of, we're creating stress levels or we're feeding something that maybe is best to pull back from, right? Am I hitting on something there?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of the same way. And I think, sometimes what's the concept, the Taoist concept of Wu Wei, which maybe I'll do a little chat on one of these weeks, but it's the art of not doing, right? And it's not being passive. It's not no action, but it's this kind of Zen concept of doing without doing. We can get into a whole chat about that, but I do. I always feel like you're saying, like, don't give it any energy. Don't feed the negativity or whatever. And sometimes it's easy to get into a cycle of trying to be cause, right? Because we want to be cause and to have an effect on something. And yet sometimes the best thing to do is to pull back and pull our energy out of that. So that's what that came up for me. Cool, guys. So we're top of the hour here. If anybody's got any final comments, I'd love to hear it. And and then we'll kind of wrap it on up.
Thank you, Stuart and all. Linda had to roll, so do I. I got a meeting. Love you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome, Stuart. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a great one. Make it a good one. Get stuff done. All right.
Or
Bye.
not.
Or not. Cheers.
Bye-bye.